Monica, I'm here at Tower-Menson Township, Republican candidate Dan David's home turf. Dan David was here earlier today at this polling place to vote. I spoke to some of the voters today who say they take their civic duty seriously, so much so that poll workers said that there was a steady stream of voters throughout the day. In fact, one stat that we're getting from one of the poll workers is that they saw a 69% turnout of what they saw in the 2016 presidential election. Again, that is a significant number when we're talking of a midterm election turnout. Women from across the country came together here in D.C. not only to support women's rights, but to protest against the Trump administration. Governor Phil Murphy delivered his first State of the State address, highlighting several key issues from legalizing recreational marijuana to investing into infrastructure. But he began his address by calling for a change to corporate tax incentive programs. And what kind of support would you like to see from the state and federal levels?
In an ideal world, we begin to understand that pre-K education is as important as kindergarten. But remember, Indiana's behind the curve. We were pretty late to the game in getting all-day kindergarten in the first place.
The aftermath of Hurricane Florence continues to ravage the Carolinas. While Florence made landfall as a Category 1 hurricane, the rating scale only measures wind speed and did not account for the unprecedented level of flooding. And Riverview Kennel has already helped one South Carolina family out who had to evacuate because of Hurricane Florence by taking in these two dogs. Yesterday was Veterans Day, a time to honor service to the nation. It's a day that honors all veterans now, but started as Armistice Day after the end of World War I. For everyone watching, today is the last day of Diwali. It's a day that celebrates love between siblings. So no quarreling over that last cookie this weekend, people. Cheers.
Cheers.
I can't even tell that there's squash. Mind you, I love squash, but you can't even tell. Looks like you can have your pumpkin pie and eat it too. Now, if you're not sure about garlic in your ice cream, event organizers say there will be plenty of traditional Italian dishes to try. Just make sure to stock up on some mints. Thanksgiving is tomorrow and Christmas is just around the corner. You know what that means, plenty of good food. While flying a drone can be a fun hobby, there are several practical applications, like aerial photography. Historically, the work of female artists has not always made it to the national stage. That's why Lehigh University put together a special art exhibit called The Future is Female. Yeah, your inner sass comes out.
Yes. So this comic with Spider-Man and Batman, this is really interesting because you have Marvel and DC. So how did that work?
Yeah, well, because I'm a freelancer, I actually usually work for both Marvel and DC separately at the same time. So they're competing companies, but they hire the same people.
I even got to learn some of the steps in the opening number for you to try at home.
And lift, little steps. And up, ta-da.
Midterm elections may be over, but political pundits are still analyzing the interesting trends behind the results. One interesting stat, the 2018 midterm election turnout hit a 50-year high. That's according to the United States Election Project. Over 47% of eligible voters cast their ballots this past Tuesday, making it the highest midterm election turnout since 1966. We visited one polling site in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, to hear from residents on why they decided to vote and what they want from elected officials. What brought you out to vote tonight?
My love of America. Did that seem sincere? I'm a Democrat, proud to be a Democrat, and I just think that this is our obligation. This is our civic duty.
What got you to come out and vote?
Well, this is my first time voting, actually, and I just thought that with all the things going on in the news, I think that my vote can make a difference. Every vote counts, no matter what you might think.
31% of registered voters 18 to 29 years old cast ballots in the 2018 midterm election, shattering turnout rates from the past quarter century. That's according to an estimate by the Center for Information and Research on Civic Learning and Engagement at Tufts University. This year's turnout was at least 10% higher than the 2014 midterms, according to the center's estimates. Tim McBain, a school history teacher and poll worker volunteering for the Democratic Party, says that the Towamencin Township polling location saw a larger than expected midterm turnout and especially a lot of young voters. This polling location near Lansdale saw a turnout that was 69% of the 2016 presidential election, which they say is unusually large in an off-presidential year. Some say this midterm election was a blue tide in response to the Trump administration. Have you heard anything from community members here? Any concerns about what's going on?
There's a lot of people that don't like what leadership's saying. It gets away from, like I said before, what our communities are all about, and that's the diversity and the talents that we all have here that we know can work together. And we shouldn't let folks define that for us.
I would like to see basically policy be a little more understandable for people, especially the situation with immigration. I think the facts need to be clearly laid out to people, and instead of fear mongering, which is what I believe is, and a lot of the people I think believe is going on right now.
While others say it's more of a purple wave, like Kate Harper, Republican state representative here in the 61st House District since 2001. Harper stopped by the polling center here at the North Penn Water Authority in Towamencin. She says that she tries to go to every polling place in her district on Election Day to talk to voters.
Well, I have about 37 polls, and I try to visit every poll on Election Day.
That's great. What kind of reactions have you been hearing from people?
Well, I expected a large Democrat turnout, but I think we're getting a large bipartisan turnout, and that surprised me. But clearly we have a huge turnout. I mean, people are reporting that they were at 800 voters at 2 o'clock. Usually in an off year, you don't get 800 voters by the end of the day.
But by night's end, Harper learned her opponent, Democrat Liz Hanbidge, defeated the 17-year incumbent. Republican poll worker and Towamencin Township tax collector Robert DiDomizio has worked alongside Democrat Tim McBain for several years at this polling center. The two are great friends despite differences in political beliefs.
To me, it's more like core values. We believe in conservatism. I believe in fiscal responsibility. It falls to who does the best job of doing that.
Why is it important to come out and vote?
The rubber meets the road right here where you live. Okay? Washington is Washington. Harrisburg is Harrisburg. This is our township. This is where we live. So for me, the importance is here and in spreads from here. Here's where we make a difference.
In Towamencin Township, I'm Karishma Desai, PBS 39 News Tonight.